Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at some pretty different stories, but we think you'll be kind of surprised by some of the connections we find as we go through things like tokenization. What's the potential there? Also, the rise of this Ronin network. It's really making some noise in the gaming world, and then also some things that are happening in the NFL and Champions League. A little unexpected.
Yeah, it's amazing how these trends, I mean, they seem so separate, right? But, when you look closer, they really are all kind of intertwined and probably shaping the future in ways that we're only just now starting to really grasp.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So let's just jump right in. Let's start talking about tokenization. I feel like we hear that word every way these days, but it's got to be more than just like a buzzword, right? I mean, you see, huge financial institutions like the European Investment Bank. They're putting 100 million euros into a digital bond. That's pretty serious.
No, it really is. I mean, that move by the EIB it's a big sign. Tokenization is going mainstream. It's not just for the early adopters anymore. And when you think about it, bonds, they've always been kind of out of reach for most people, you need a lot of money to get started. And the whole process is really complicated. But tokenization, it can change that. It can make bonds more liquid. You can divide them into smaller pieces so more people can invest. And the whole process becomes, a lot more accessible.
So is this the key then? I mean, could this really make finance more democratic? More people can get in on these investment opportunities that were basically closed off before. I mean, are there any downsides there? Anything we need to be careful about?
Yeah, that's the big question. On the one hand, it's great that it's becoming more accessible, right? But we also have to look at what are the regulations and what are the risks that come with this, with any new technology, really. I mean, just like any investment, you have to do your homework. You got to understand what you're putting your money into. But the potential is huge, I mean, this could really change finance as we know it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about something that you may find pretty interesting. So the Ronin network. This thing has just exploded in popularity in the gaming world. I mean, it's already the 7th most active blockchain overall and the 3rd largest in gaming. That's crazy. So what's going on here? Is it all hype,
Yeah.
or is there something more to it?
Well, one thing that sets Ronin apart is they're really focused on the quality of the gaming experience. It's not just about these play to earn models, which, sometimes they get criticized for just being about grinding, not really fun gameplay. Ronin's more about picking games that are really engaging and where you can build a community. They're not just building a platform, It's more like an ecosystem they're creating.
Yeah, and we saw that firsthand, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when at Beast launched on Ronin, and it actually crashed their servers because so many people were trying to play it. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So it's about the people,
Right.
not just the tech.
Yeah, exactly. You need a strong community, developers, players. I mean, that's essential for any gaming platform to succeed, especially in the Web3 space. And it seems like Ronin really gets that. I mean, they're working hard to create this environment where creators and players can connect. It's a lot different from some other platforms out there that feel more transactional, less about building a real community.
Yeah. And speaking of shaking things up, I mean, have you seen OpenSea is now integrating Ronin NFTs? I mean, that's huge news.
Oh yeah, that's big. I mean, OpenSea, they just went through this big upgrade with OS2. So their user base and trading volume have just exploded. And now with Ronin NFTs on there, projects like at Awaken Hunter NFT, at Ronins and Ronin, and at Cappy Game Agent, they're right there next to the big names from Ethereum and Solana. It's pretty cool.
So this could be it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
could this be the moment that Ronin NFTs really go mainstream?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be a good thing for these projects, right?
Yeah, no, this is potentially a real game changer for Ronin NFT projects. I mean, OpenSea is the top NFT marketplace, right? So
Yeah.
so now they have all this visibility, all this liquidity. It's definitely something to watch. It could be the thing that brings Ronin NFTs into the mainstream.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we were talking about unexpected shifts. Well, let's talk about the NFL. They just dropped a bombshell. The Rams, they released Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Super Bowl MVP,
Eh,
Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people were really surprised by that. I mean, on the surface, it doesn't make sense, right? Why would you let go of a player like Cup? But when you look a little deeper, you start to see why the Rams did it. They have salary cap issues. Cup has been dealing with some injuries, and it looks like they're kind of rebuilding. So it's a risky move, but maybe it'll work out for them.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's trying to figure out where he's going to go next. So people are saying, the Buffalo Bills. I mean, can you imagine him with Josh Allen? That would be something else. Other people are saying maybe the Kansas City Chiefs or even the Green Bay Packers. I mean, what do you think? What kind of impact could he have on those teams?
Well, no matter where he ends up, it's going to be a big deal. I mean, the guy is incredibly talented. He's got a ton of experience, so he could instantly make any team's receiving core way better.
Hmm.
Like the Bills, they already have a crazy good offense, right? But with Cup, I mean, forget about it. They'd be almost unstoppable. And the Chiefs, they're trying to stay on top. So they might see Cup as the piece they need to keep their offense going strong. And then, the Packers, they have a young quarterback, so having a veteran like Cupp, I mean, that could be huge for them, both on and off the field. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it really is. It just shows you, even when you think you have it all figured out, I mean, anything can happen, right? Statistics, strategies, it all goes out the window when something like this happens. Speaking of unexpected,
Oh, yeah. Real Madrid. I mean, they did it again,
Yeah.
Another Champions League win. Just barely got past Atletico Madrid. It came down to penalties.
down there, I know. My heart was racing. I mean, that was a classic Real Madrid performance, right? I mean, they were down, but they never gave up. Just incredible resilience. I mean, does this mean they can do it again? Can they win another Champions League title, or was this like a last hurrah?
Well, Real Madrid has this history of exceeding expectations. They always seem to play their best when the pressure's on. I mean, the competition is tough. It's not easy to win back-to-back titles, but you can never count them out. They've shown time and time again that they have the talent, the experience, and the mental toughness to overcome anything. So it'll be interesting to see if they can, keep up this intensity and make another run at the title.
Yeah. It really shows you, I mean, resilience, determination, those things can really make a difference, even when it seems like it's impossible. But before we get too deep into that, let's pause here and we'll come back with the rest of our deep dive in part 2. And we're back with part 2 of our deep dive. It's funny, as we were talking about Real Madrid, that win, it kind of got me thinking about investing. How it's kind of similar, especially in crypto. I mean, that market is volatile, to say the least.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. In both cases, you need that resilience, and you got to be in it for the long haul. You got to be able to ride out the rough patches, just like Real Madrid. I mean, they had some tough moments in that match, but they pulled it out in the end. And same thing with investors. If you stay calm, you focus on the big picture, you usually come out ahead.
Right. You got to stick to the fundamentals, even when things get a little crazy.
Yeah.
And speaking of crazy, Bitcoin took a bit of a dip recently, but here's the thing: while some people were freaking out, selling off their Bitcoin, there were others, these big players, these, what do they call them, whales. They saw it as a buying opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The whales. It's always interesting to see what they're doing. It kind of gives you a sense of what the market sentiment is, And during this dip, they actually bought up a ton of Bitcoin, over 5,000 Bitcoin. So they're clearly not worried. They seem to think this downturn is temporary. They're still bullish on Bitcoin.
So they're basically saying, hey, we're not going anywhere. We believe in Bitcoin. Yeah. It's a pretty strong signal, right? I mean, what's the takeaway here for the average investor? Should we all be following the whales?
Well, it's not that simple. I mean, it's good to understand how the market works, and to not let fear drive your decisions, but you can't just, blindly follow the ways. You got to do your research. You got to manage your risk. I mean, every investment has risks, right? No matter what the big players are doing, it's one piece of the puzzle, You got to look at everything.
Yeah. Right. So it's more about gathering information, seeing the trends, making informed decisions, not just, jumping in because someone else
has blindly following any one indicator is never a good idea. But but you can learn a lot by observing the patterns,
Yeah.
understanding the market dynamics, getting information from different sources that can help you, make better decisions more confidently and with more clarity.
It's all about connecting the dots. So let's shift gears again. Let's talk about the economy. There's actually some good news on the inflation front. The latest numbers are better than expected. It looks like those price increases might be slowing down a bit.
Yeah, that's right. Both the CPI and the core CPI, they're showing some moderation, which is, it's a good sign. The CPI, it measures the average change in prices that people are paying for goods and services. And the core CPI, that takes out the volatile stuff like food and energy prices. So it gives you a better idea of what's really happening with inflation. And the Fed, they watch these numbers very closely when they're deciding about interest rates.
Okay, so for those of us who don't have an economics degree, um, what does this mean? I mean, could this actually affect the Fed's decision on whether to keep raising interest rates? And what would that mean for the markets?
Well, the Fed has been, raising rates pretty aggressively to try to get inflation under control. But if these trends continue, if inflation keeps cooling down, it might give them some breathing room. They might not have to keep raising rates so fast. And that could be good for both the stock market and the crypto market because, when interest rates are lower, it usually helps the economy grow. And that means more investment, more spending. But it's complicated. There are a lot of factors that could affect what the Fed does. So it's good news, but but we got to wait and see.
Right, right. It's a step in the right direction, but it's not over yet. So just like, with sports and investing, I mean, the economy is always changing. There are always things that can throw you a curveball. And sometimes, things that seem totally unrelated can have a big impact. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've seen how tokenization is changing finance. Ronin is shaking things up in the gaming world, and you have these unexpected events in sports and the economy. It makes you wonder what else is out there. What other connections are we missing?
Exactly. And that's something to think about as we wrap up part 2 of our deep dive. I mean, really think about the connections we've talked about. What stood out to you? What possibilities do you see? And join us for part 3, where we'll wrap things up and leave you with some final thoughts to ponder. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? I mean, from tokenization and this Ronin network to to the NFL and even the Champions League, and everything in between. I feel like my head's spinning a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot, but I think it's been good. And as we wrap things up here, I want to come back to something we talked about earlier, this idea of interconnectedness, how these trends, they all seem so different, but they really are connected in ways that we don't always see.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in one specific thing, and not really think about how it relates to everything else. But as we've seen, those connections they're everywhere. I mean, look at tokenization. It's like a bridge between traditional finance and the world of blockchain. And Ronin, it's showing that gaming can be more than just, front end games. And then you have, a football player getting traded and it shakes up the whole league.
Right. It's like a giant web, and each strand is a different trend or event. And when one strand vibrates, it affects the whole web. The trick is to understand how those connections work and to see how they might, affect the decisions we make, both individually and as a society.
So as we go forward, I mean, the question is, what's next? What other unexpected connections are waiting to be discovered? What other things are gonna come together and change the world in ways that we can't even imagine right now?
That's the big question, isn't it? I mean, nobody knows for sure what the future holds, but we can look for clues, right? I mean, pay attention to new technologies, demographic shifts, social trends, like AI, for example. I mean, artificial intelligence is advancing so rapidly, and when you combine that with blockchain technology, I mean, who knows what kind of breakthroughs we'll see in healthcare and in supply chains, even in the arts.
And what about the metaverse? I mean, people talk about it as this place for gaming and entertainment, but could it be more than that? Could it be a place for education, for collaboration, for doing business in a whole new way? I mean, imagine attending a conference virtually, but it's immersive. You can interact with people from all over the world.
The possibilities are endless, really. And the important thing is that we're not just, sitting back and watching this happen. We can shape the future. We can, stay informed, ask questions, explore the connections between different fields. It's about, being curious, being
Yeah.
open to new ideas.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's really what the deep dive is all about. We hope that this episode has made you think a little differently about the world. To see those connections that are all around us, and to approach the future with a sense of wonder and critical thinking. Because the most exciting discoveries, they often happen when we challenge our assumptions, when
Yeah.
we step outside our comfort zones.
Right. And remember, knowledge is only useful if you use it, right?
Yeah.
So take what you've learned today, share it with others, and keep exploring. The more we connect, the more we learn, the more we evolve, the better prepared we'll be for whatever the future holds.
And on that note, we'll wrap things up. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Keep diving deep, keep asking questions, and keep those minds open. Till next time.